Good morning. Mm, there you are. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in this world. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. I am your Sensei, Al Bob, and I'm here to be your griot, to tell you a story, to wake you up. And don't believe a word I say. If whatever I say kind of excites you, bothers you, makes you think, well, then my job has been done. I'm not here to be popular. Definitely not here to make a fortune. Because I have nothing. I am, you know, you're a homeless guy with no money. And yet I have all the riches in the world because I'm out in the middle of the deep green. And I see things before they happen. So I am coming to you here. It's now 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I woke up. I went to sleep somewhat early. I was tired. And where I live, I have to, if I'm walking around outside, I'm going up and down um, big hills. And so I get my cardio. And recent, it has, I don't have any money to buy medicine, so the medicines I was taking, I don't have. And my blood sugar's up a little high, and, my neuropathy bothers me. So if I meditate, the pain goes away. So that's the hidden golden lining, golden lining in that. Hey there, AI. Good to see you, buddy. Um, the golden lining in that. How about a thumbs up? Is that when my body hurts, I meditate and the pain goes away. So it, facilitates me to meditate more. But the other side of that is when I meditate more, I become more self aware of my internal structure. And it's, that my life has taken a toll on my little bag of water here. Anyway, so my dreams are, this is why I named this channel Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Alba. So my dreams are always very prophetic. So I basically had a dream that I was um, in my not my stockbroker's office back when I had a stockbroker, and I had a helmet on, a safety helmet on. I covered my whole head, and I had a mask and strapped down, and when I wore this helmet, it had so much foam on the inside, I couldn't hear anything. It like put me in a sensory deprivation thing, and so there I was sitting in his office, and I couldn't hear anything, and my head was like bang, bang. It was like um, my head was like the inside of a bell, and and I found that my eyes were closed. I'm sitting in my stockbroker's office, and my eyes were closed, and I kind of opened my eyes, and it was hitting me in the head with a big 2x4 shaped like a dollar sign, and it was hitting me in the head. And I would say, I want to have this as a stock. And he would hit me in the head, no, you don't. And then this is stock, no, you don't. And I want gold, no, you don't. And he kept hitting me in the head, and my head kept ringing like a bell until I woke up. And I was looking, so couldn't go back to sleep. I decided I was going to do a live chat. So, to get a thumbnail of what's going on, I watched some of Jimmy Dore. And basically, you know, the Democratic Party set these rules on these debates, and you had to have X money given to you, and you had to have X, um, you know, donations and support from people, right? And the only person who had that was Tulsi Gabbard, and they kept putting her on the, they took her off the rostrum, and she hasn't quit because she, you know, is not running on her personality. She is running on the platform that, we need to stop having war, right? We don't need to have wars or economy, right? And so, with no real coverage by the media, she has a big following, and Jimmy Dore is one of them, right? So he's always talking about her, and so she won America Samoa, right? Which, by the Democratic rules, should put her. There's two more debates, and should put her on the debate stage for those. Since everyone else quit, it's just her, Joe Biden, and Bernie. Um, she should be up there, and they're changing the playing field, right? And so that was that, and then they were talking about Joe Biden, how he lies as much as the carrot pinhead. I mean, he has a history of taking um, stuff that other politicians say and saying that he says it like he just made it up then. He stole things from Robert Kennedy, and he stole things from this guy Neil Kinnock in England, and a number of other political characters, and he's made unbelievable things. Like he said that he marched with with Nelson Mandela, right, for Africa, black freedom in South Africa. I'm just like he said things that are just, and he said that the same kind of thing. He graduated the top of his law class, and he was actually in the bottom 10%. And it's unbelievable. So we're going to have two lying, cheating, crooked characters running for um, president if we do have a presidential election. I have a sense that because of this novel CV-19, we're going to we won't be able to get together in one place, and so they're going to oh, sorry, we're not going to have an election. So um, not only did I wake up, with my head hurting, my whole body hurt, and my heart hurt. So I meditated today to see if I could get the pain to go away, and go back to sleep. And I couldn't. All I did was, so I meditated, and the focus went into my heart, right? And um, my heart hurts, and it's not. And the other interesting thing was the people who used to give me health care. That was a nonprofit HMO. Was bought out by a very large insurance company, HMO, and they did it because in 2019 they made $60 billion in profit, not but profit after all expenses and everything. They made 16 billion with a B in profit, and so they didn't want to pay tax on that, so they bought this nonprofit and then put their business under the umbrella. And to bring this nonprofit that they had a really great thing. They had a sliding scale. You know, if you showed how much money you made, you know, they'd, you know, charge you proportionally, right? So, you know, I make about $5,000 a year, give or take, and maybe maybe about $6,000, you know, and but no more, you know. So I'm really, you know, have nothing, you know. I live, you know, under a tree. I live in my car, and so it was quite interesting to see that they got rid of their sliding scale, and they no longer take Medicaid or Medicare. So only people with their insurance can get health care. So now I have no health care. You know, I have to go to the emergency room. So I don't have the doctor, even though I used to have to drive 200 miles to go see my doctor. I would, because you know it was good health care. The doctor was good. The system was good, and it cost me, you know, virtually nothing. You know? And you know, they would give me my drugs, you know, my diabetes drug, my neuropathy drug, my blood pressure drug, my you know, cholesterol drug, you know, all the other little things I was taking, and anyway, so if I were to buy those, so I would spend for 90 days. They would give me 90 days of medicines, for $30, and also my blood testing kit and the strips and the sticky things, and for $30, right? Well, if I were to buy those same prescriptions at CVS, it would cost just for 30 days, 1 month, $2,800, right? 1 month. So now I don't have any of that. So, you know, so my body is kind of reacting to that. And what it's really, you know, I'm like the canary in the coal mine, because, you know, I'm like a lot of other people, especially around here. You know, the poverty is quite extreme. And so there's a Supreme Court judge of this state that lives in a nearby town. And we meet at this sports bar. And I'll have a bowl of chili and you know, cup of tea, and he has his cocktail, and we talk. He likes to talk to me because, you know, he's smart. He's, you know, has experience from outside this neighborhood, and so he has a, you know, he reads things that, you know, he reads a lot, and he watches things off the satellite. So he's watching, you know, RT and Al Jazeera and lots of different things from all over the world, and rather than just Fox News or MSNBC. Anyway, he's a nice guy. He's interesting. We have good conversation, and we do it in the sports bar. And it's interesting because we'll be at the bar, and we start talking, and then people listen to our conversation and enjoy it. And it's quite interesting because it's a college town, so it's a very diverse crowd. I mean, even though it's kind of a biker bar, um, there's college professors and students, and so anyway, I saw him the other day. Anyway, we were talking about stuff, and I always definitely have a different point of view from everybody else, and yet they kind of listen and go, hmm. And the people who have the most closed minds are the college professors, right? Because I know what I'm talking about. I'm a college professor, I have tenure, and my, the little smartphone always outsmarts them because I'll be talking about something, and I will always go, well, hey, don't believe me. I'm just talking here, and you're wrong. I said, well, that's an opinion. No, it's not an opinion. I am right. You're wrong. This is a college professor. The other people, not so much. They're going, that's interesting. And so no one's listening. I've been here 15 minutes and 53 seconds. Anyway, so, and they'll go on the Google and find out that they're wrong and I'm kind of right, and that's all. Yeah. And I always say, don't believe a word I say. So all of this is coming, and I'm watching our elections, and it's pretty, straight up. You can see that, we have the best legislators money can buy. We have a pandemic, and our president is telling people, well, if you're sick, you can go to work. It's like he's up on stage, and the smartest people in medicine about pandemics are saying one thing, and he's saying, no, you're wrong. I'm president, you're fired. It's like they did that. The first one of those news conferences they had, I think, Wednesday or Tuesday of last week. They were supposed to have at 11, CNN and MSNBC, Fox are ready to cover it. And Downey doesn't come out. The people, the head of the CDC, the head of the National Health Institute, the National Science Institute, and Carnegie Mellon, and all the people who are really knowledgeable, top notch of infectious diseases there, and they're standing on the dais waiting for Mike Pence and Donald Trump to come out, but they don't come out. And so they're going to come out any minute, so they don't go away, and so the talking heads are talking, and then the reporters who are there for the news conference, start roaming around and start interviewing these people. And the more interesting thing, like the second, the guys who are in charge, like Anthony, what's his name, are up on the dais waiting for Pence, but their staffs are down, in seats. So the reporters are going and talking to these people, grabbing them and taking off out into the hallway, and virtually all of the second tier people are women, and a good number of the people up on the dais are women. Not as many as the guys, so it's like 6 guys and 2 women. Anyway, but their staff are pretty much all women. They're all doctors. They're all head of their thing. And so this one doctor, she's actually giving some really good information. First of all, she says, we really don't know what's going on, because the information we're getting from China is basically anecdotal. Now we have the RNA string, and we can look at it, and we have been, and we've actually had this RNA string for almost a year. It's been around because it was in our biologic labs and others, and we've been studying it because and it's a manufactured string because it was created so we could study SARS and MERS and other coronaviruses, right? And that's why it's novel, because it was manufactured and hasn't been around. Now, there are viruses, around us all the time, and they mutate. And that's understood. That's not a novel thing. But this thing is a novel thing because it's been manufactured. So this doctor saying we knew about this thing, um, you know, for at least, she said I knew about this thing for about 3 years, and she describes this whole scenario of that it was manufactured and that it was passed around to these, you know, top-notch level 4 biologic labs, which were mostly, weaponized laboratories, right? It's like, Plum Island and Brookhaven National Laboratory, and there's one in, Pasteur guys, and there's one in England, and there's, one in Canada and Australia, and so, and they're all Anglo-American. I mean, they're all owned and run by the same corporations, you know, Pfizer and the other big pharma companies. So, and those were the same guys who were in that meeting with the president the other day. So anyway, she's going on about, yeah, we knew about this thing, and the guy goes, you knew about this thing, and she goes, yeah, yeah, and then they go, so if they knew about it and you've been studying it, how come there isn't, you know, a a fix for it, an inoculation? And she doesn't really say anything, but she kind of alludes that you don't make something like this unless you got something to fix it. Anyway, um, so she's going on, and then she kind of, the guy asked her about the testing, and said, it's erupting in South Korea, and they have, developed a test that you know, um, since it exploded 2 weeks ago, they've developed this whole process that you drive through. It's like going to get a cheeseburger. You never get out of your car, so you can't infect them. You don't have to go to a doctor's office and get infected if you're not infected. Anyway, you stay in your car, you drive in. Anyway, long story short, South Korea has tested 400,000 people. They've developed this test, and they have tested 400,000 people in a week. I mean, they developed the process, the standard, the procedure, and implemented it in 1 week, and have tested 400,000 people. And we've tested like a few hundred, in the last month. Since that um, boat in Japan, which was really a bad idea. Anyway, so she is really giving. Now that's a pretty interesting piece of information. And then I said, so why isn't testing? And she basically says, well, because, um, you know, we used to have a really good, I've been in this, discipline for 30 years. And we had CDC, we had, Fort Detrick, we had, all the national laboratories, we had the State Department, you start naming all these things that you wouldn't think would be involved in infectious diseases like the INA and the, American, Assistance Bank and the World Bank and, anyway, the IMF. And the guy goes, what are all these people have been doing? And she goes, well, infectious diseases, as you saw in our stock market, really have an effect on the economy. So it really, deals with lots of different people in our, you have been in the State Department because they're out there in all these countries and they see this stuff. Anyway, and she goes, since the George W. Bush administration, they have been defunding it. It hasn't just been, yeah, they're conscious. How you doing, buddy? It just hasn't been, the present administration. I mean, they have doubled down on it. They have totally hollowed it out. And she goes, that's one reason why we're so slow on testing. And the guy goes, well, if the Koreans have developed this thing in a week and tested 400,000 people. Why don't we just do it their way? And they said, well, it has, there's this, it just put together this process that, everything goes through Mike Pence and then Donald Trump. And if they can't say do it that way, it doesn't get done that way. Tell us about when you met Albert Einstein. No. Didn't really meet the boy. I met people who knew him, come on, tell us all about when you met Albert Einstein. Well, I'll tell you one thing. When I was in third grade, I read a thing in Scientific America about, the Einstein's theory on relativity. And was it third, fourth, fifth grade, somewhere in there? Mr. Dr. Kleiman had this thing. He let us read all the Scientific Americas. And there was a thing in the back of the Scientific America said, the junior scientists, where teenagers could do experiments. And he would, we had a lab down in the Kleiman basement, and then we blew it up once. Mrs. Kleiman made us move it to this garage at J.P. Hoagland's house. And it was gigantic, big, commercial. It was, big. You could put 2 buses in there. Anyway, we used to go to, Dr. Kleiman worked for Sperry Rand, which is now, I think, Raytheon. And he worked at their laboratory where they just did experiments, not about projects or making something, but just science. He was like a just science guy. And so I read this article about, relativity. And like I said, I guess it was 5th grade. And that's now I'm visualizing. But I spent that whole year just writing E equals MC square and then drawing pictures of the universe, right? And I was having, when I'd be out in outer space, I'd be having conversations with Einstein and Newton and Tesla and Faraday and Ohm and Rankine and Marie Curie and her husband. And so that's the only time I ever met Albert Einstein was out there, and it was called Shambhala, right? So all these people were dead, and I was like hanging out with them at the coffee shop out there in the universe, and I kept drawing equals MC square. And I'd start out drawing it on my notebook, right? And I would think about energy equals mass times the speed of light squared, right? And I would draw those things. What's mass? What's energy? What's the speed of light? And I would draw them. And that's how I got in, went into my imaginary mirror and saw, these things. And that's when I kind of, because especially Einstein, he was always writing this stuff on this big blackboard. And I was saying, so what does that mean? Explain that. And he couldn't. And because he finally said, math is not the language of science. He says geometry is the shows physically what's going on in the atom and the world around us. But algebra and trigonometry are just pretend. They just kind of try and give you a false, tapestry to explain things that you can't explain because they're not really real. And this is when I first started realizing that everything around us is not real. That you know. And it took years later to realize the only real thing was love's co-creation because, I came from a Catholic family. I went to a Catholic school until a nun nearly killed me. And see, people who have a need to control, a need to be authoritarian. I have it's like that movie Cool Hand Luke. You have a problem with, with authority, and I at least, after getting beaten up by, priests and nuns so much, um, that I realized, you can't fight them, but you can go around them, you know, you can, you know, but you have to not be indoctrinated. So that's a real problem with the majority of the population on the earth is that they have been indoctrinated, not so much into any specific religion that follows the teachings of any great master, but they are all pretty much indoctrinated into the church of the golden cow, you know, of the false idol. And that's commerce. We were not put on this earth to be merchants, right? Because in the end, you just become a merchant of death. Because, I mean, look at the United States. The only thing we make is weapons, you know, and everything else that's like made in China or someplace else. I mean, it's stuff that you don't really need. Any stuff that's based on the process of that you have to go steal natural resources to make a thing that's unsustainable, and won't last too long. So you'll have to steal more natural resources to make more stuff that's unsustainable. And that's where we are right now. And everything that we see continually screams out that this system doesn't work out. Our political system, the joke that it is. And it has always been a joke. It's always been corrupt since our founding fathers. When Washington said, "I cannot tell a lie." Well, he could. That's all he could do is tell lies. He lied. He lied. He lied. I mean, he was, you know, our founding fathers' version of Donald Trump was, George Washington, right? He lied as much. He cheated. He stole. Look what he came from a relatively well-to-do family. Um, was represented the king. You know, it's in all of the you know the Indian wars, right? And what were the Indian wars about? They were about the white people taking the land of the indigenous folk. All those Indians were attacking us. Well, why were they attacking you? Well, they were there first. They lived there. You took their stuff. You killed and raped their women and children, and destroyed their homes. They just live in those tents. We'll just set them on fire. You know, so that has been our business plan from the day Christopher Columbus got off the boat. Actually, he didn't get off the boat. He was taken off the boat. They were so sick. The Indians went out there and Hispaniola and said, "Who the crack is? What is this thing?" And they got him. They took him back to their camps. They healed them up. They fed them. They brought them back to health. And Christopher Columbus, why he got the job was he could write very descriptively. So his log was really his book. That's what was worth something. And so he wrote into it, pretty voluminously. And when he came out of the fog of being sick, he made his first thing into the log, from getting better. He said, "We've been saved by the people of this land, and they're beautiful, and they're tall, and they're strong, and they're generous, and they're smart, and they're not violent. They they'll make great slaves with 20 men and muskets and cannon, I could conquer. And Hispaniola at that time had 6 million people. And he basically killed them all in about 12 years, between the disease and him just killing everyone and taking their stuff. So that was a business plan of the Europeans when they came to the new land. And so the new land, meaning that's why my heart is healing. It's not, like I got heart disease. I may, have whatever I have from being so sick, but that was just the physical representation of the sociopathic world. I was working for desperate lawyers in the corporate world, and that's how it affected me. And so that's what I'm feeling in my heart. And so that's the dream I woke up to, getting hit in the head with a 2x4 that looked like a dollar bill. And so that's why I came to do this live chat. Right? So research. Um, Tell me what you think of all of that, right? That little exposure. How have you been, research? I haven't seen you in a while. I haven't heard from you. I hope you're doing well. How's your family? How's your dog? How's your life? You got a dog, don't you? I thought you did. But so that's where we're at. So, the collapse of the, meaning since '08, all along, if we look at the American history of its economy, it's been boom and bust, war, boom and bust, war, boom and bust. Every time it busts, we have to get another war. And that's why we had the .com bubble, pop right after George W. got in office. And so, we had to have a new Pearl Harbor. So we had 9/11, which allowed us as neocons, that crew of new American history, that was made up of Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney and Wolfowitz and all those neocons, they became the administration. And we, went into Afghanistan, we went into Iraq, and then we laid the foundation to go into Syria and Libya and Iran. So and now Turkey is going into Idlib, and they're part of NATO, right? And they are attacking Syria, and Syria's ally is Russia, and the Syrian Air Force and ground forces are, it's all Russian equipment and Russian advisors and Russian fighters, and they're killing the Turkey guys. And the Turkeys, they got a pretty good army. They got, and so they could easily, by mistake, start World War III. And no one's even talking about that because it's getting pretty hot over there. They just, Putin and Erdogan just had, to try and cool it down, but I don't think so. So there's something that we're not even talking about. Then we have this world pandemic, and the stock markets are cratering, and this is all emblematic. World sucks not because the carrot pinhead, but because carrot pinhead is just a example or an outcome of this corrupt system that has been going on for the last 1,200 years. A European imperial force, coming out of the Roman Empire, the Holy Roman Empire, and then the Spanish Empire, and then the English Empire, and the French Empire, and until we all realize through empathy's love's co-creation that we're all our relations. Well, and it's just, and because we've left the Piscean age, which was the age of you know, jujitsu of anger, fear, and greed, and we've gone into the Aquarian age, which is this the fluidity of water, um, of love's co-creation, and we're that was what 2012, the end of the Mayan calendar was when that was the line, this way to the south of the Mayan calendar, past that was the Piscean age. Everything north of it into the future, that's the Aquarian age. And so, whatever it takes, we have to break the mold of this, selfish, egocentric, sociopathic, nihilistic. Because look at every freaking politician. You know, very, very, very few are serving love's co-creation. The rest are serving themselves. Because it's the name of the game. It's hard. You go in there with good intentions, and the head of your party comes in and goes, "Hey, congratulations, you won it. You got all these great ideas. We really like people with great ideas, and you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back, and here's just a little back scratcher for you." And he slides an envelope on. Right, the guy looks at it. There's like 200 grand in the envelope. He's never seen $1,000 bills, and there they are. And he goes, you'll need money to get reelected. And and if he takes it, that means he's going along. He's drank the Kool-Aid. And so a week or later, that same guy goes, "Hey, listen, we're having a little party over at Jeffy, what's his name's the place in New York, and we got the chartered plane, the Lolita Express, leaving Reagan International next Friday. It's going to be, it's going to be great. We're going to be there the whole weekend. We're going to, have great food and a party at his house. We'll go see shows at Broadway. We got tickets. We got, we're going to watch L.A. Lakers play at the Garden, right on the wood, right on the, anyway. And so you go to that, and then, you go to that party, and you drink a little bit too much, and you smoke a little bit too much, you get a little blasted, and you end up in a bed, with children and animals, and they've got video of you doing things, right? So now you're going to have to kind of go along with that, right? So that's our political system. It is that corrupt, but it has always been that corrupt. You look at Tammany Hall. You just keep looking, and it has been this corrupt. It has been this evil. It has been, and that's why the prayer, bless us indeed, Father Sky, Mother Earth, bless us indeed, enlarge our territory. Put your hand on our shoulder to keep us from evil, so we will do no harm. Right? And enlarging our territory isn't like becoming super rich. What it is having what you need. That's all. We live in a world of abundance, not a world of scarcity. That's all it's saying. And so here we are. So what do you think about that research? You still here? I think it's only AI. Come on, AI. My thumbs up. So, gang, we need some more subscribers, and we need, I have probably over 1,000 shows, easy. And I've been going back and looking at them, and they're all different, but the similarity, other than me being the base, the similarity is that every show I do, before I do it, I go into shamanic state and bring forth an energetic into the show, right? And we do guided meditations. I show you how to bring in the photonic light into your cellular base, and pump your energy up by creating a scalar field in your body. And that's the only reason I'm alive. Like I said, every time, something kind of knocks me back, and it's usually when I see other people suffering that affects me, and um, that's when I can, I feel empathy because I'm feeling their suffering, and, and then I, get the energetics of pain in my body, right? And so the other day when I was at favorite spot with my friend, um, it was interesting because he's like the Pope. He's really, he was Supreme Court judge, and then he gave that up, and because he had to be out of town too much and away from his family too much. He was getting old, and he did it thinking that he would retire and just do that, and his family would, come to where the Supreme Court is, and they didn't want to leave their town. They didn't want to leave their friends. They didn't want to leave their life here just for that. So he didn't spend too much time doing that, and he still gets, his retirement check from that. So he still is a lawyer because he likes being a lawyer, he likes helping people, and so he's the one lawyer in the three. I mean, and he can lawyer in 12 states in the union, right? And so he doesn't do as much as that, but I mean that shows the level of his capabilities. And so he's a really he's like a Matlock lawyer, but instead of doing murders, he does everything else, And so he really is the one guy that your basic average Joe can get, and he is really, and what he likes to do is take cases that help set legal precedent, and so he's doing that in the 3 county area around here, and in the state and the other states that he practices. Anyway, so he's always got something interesting, uh, politically and legally, to tell me, and then I put it into a kind of socioeconomic, anthropologic point of view, and that's what he and that's what I do. People have a specific kind of information or question, and they give me the data, and then I reframe it right in a shamanic way, and then they look at it. And so he likes the fact that I do that. So he's always posing interesting socioeconomic, legal um, postulates, which is what I'd love to see on the live chat. You know, so it's 48 minutes. It's almost 2 a.m. I'm getting tired again, and there's only one person here, so I think I might cash it in for the evening. Tomorrow, if I can, we're supposed to have inclement weather. I'm not going anywhere, so I'll try and do some live chats. Maybe another shortcut of the Grand Kazoo. I'm wearing the Grand Kazoo coat. Because I bought this at Walmart for $3, and it was like the closeout. And it's got some weird ass. I mean, it's very light, but it's very warm. So this is my coat that keeps me warm. So this has been my, but it's very light. So it's not bulky at all. So anyway, so at 50-50, I'm gonna go back to bed. So here it is, 49. 49-49. So at 50-50, I'm gonna say goodnight. So we weren't put here, to be a banker. You know, we weren't here to serve the golden calf. You know, we were here to love each other, to realize that the only reality is love's co-creation, not this helter-skelter world of materialism. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you how much I love you, care for you. I only wish the best for all of you. So, again, close to 50-50. So, I'll see you tomorrow. Well, I'll see you later today.